The 112th U.S. Open arrived with the usual array of subplots. Until 1991, Stefan Edberg was less than enamored with the sometimes raucous conditions at the National Tennis Center. But he arrived this year much fonder of Flushing Meadows, having won the title last year. These dynamic points versus Jakob Lasik in the second round were indicative of the effort Edberg would require were he to repeat as U.S. Open champion, a feat no male had accomplished since Ivan Lendl in 1986 and 87. A quartet of young Americans would also be very much involved. Number 1 ranked Jim Courier, Wimbledon champion Andre Agassi, Michael Chang, and 1990 Open champion Pete Sampras rounded out a group looking to make history. An American win would meet a sweep of the Grand Slams of '92, something not done since 1938. Of the four, it was Courier who was most sternly tested early. In round 1, he squared off against NCAA champion Alex O'Brien. And if O'Brien was awed by his stadium court debut, it was hardly detectable. He calmly won a solid first set, 6-4. With positively no desire to make headlines as a first-round victim, Courier shifted his game into overdrive and won sets 2 and 3 by dominating from where he feels most comfortable, the baseline. Trailing, but having already captured a set from the world's number 1 player, O'Brien might have considered the night a good showing and bowed out gracefully. But in set 4, he pushed for more. Courier shoved back, erased a 4-2 deficit, and ended O'Brien's night by taking the 4th set tiebreak. Courier was through to round 2, leaving O'Brien to ponder that elusive difference between those who struggled to reach the top and those already there. The first few days of men's action at the '92 Open were unusually calm, but that all changed with the arrival of Jimmy Connors on his 40th birthday. The mere sight of Connors in New York conjured up vivid memories of his dramatic run to the semifinals in 1991. Connors electrified the entire nation as few in his sport ever have, with the boisterous traits that have defined his career. Perseverance, guts, enthusiasm, and a very real love of the game. There were improbable comebacks replete with scintillating shot-making and 5-set battles. In 1991, Jimmy Connors won the heart of the U.S. Open without ever accepting a trophy. This year, before embarking on another quest for glory, Connors accepted best wishes from an old friend. But now, with so much focus on him, the question Jimmy had to face was, were fans expecting too much from him in '92?
I think it's a bit unfair for him to feel that way, to be honest with you. I mean, last year I did have a good run, but every time I go out there and play, I try to be my best, but they have to understand that I am 40 years old here and that I'm playing against guys that are half my age. But I will say that if I could do half what I did last year, that would be more than a pleasure for me this year.
Even prior to the start of the Open, Connors had been accorded royal treatment. His sponsored birthday bash at a plush New York hotel had kicked off the celebration. Helping to ring in Jimmy's 40th year were dignitaries like New York City Mayor David Dinkins. There were also a plethora of celebrities on hand.
You beat Jimmy at tennis?
Isn't it amazing? The guy that was the villain of the court, of the tennis courts for years, behavior-wise and everything, is now the grand old man. Everybody's rooting for the old man.
The evening's high point, though, came from the appearance of Jimmy's biggest fan, best friend, and first coach, his mother, Gloria.
Okay, but as your mother and your number 1 fan, I wish you a very, very happy birthday.
Thank you. Stay up here.
No, you can't, baby.
And so it began.
Here we go again. Yep.
In that charged air of electricity that Connors said was reminiscent of a decade ago, when the great tennis rivalries were raging, the King took stadium court. It was a big party that left only one person feeling uninvited, Connors' opponent, 22-year-old Brazilian Jaime Ancine. As Ancine would discover, to beat Connors on a night this special is a challenge few players have ever met. Ancine did not come close. For Connors, it was his 114th career match at the U.S. Open, a record. And of course, it was vintage Jimbo throughout. First, he let his tennis take command, losing only 3 games in the first 2 sets. Then, with the match firmly in his control, Connors turned his attention to entertaining the masses. Even when on-scene hit a great shot, Connors stole the spotlight with a chuckle. Connors won in straight sets. When it was over, the old soldier thanked his adoring troops and looked ahead to round 2.
6-1, 6-2. I never thought I'd be playing when I was 40, and it's really my pleasure to still be doing this, especially here for you people. You last year, actually every year since I played here, but more so last year and now tonight, have given me something that I cannot buy, and that's you coming day after day to watch me play, and I will never be able to repay you for that. I wish this cake was big enough so everybody could have a piece. But once again, you are the greatest, and I love playing here, and I'll see you Friday night.
Jimmy's date in round 2 would be Ivan Lendl, who was almost derailed prior to this marquee matchup by Peru's Jaime Izaga in a first-round match. Lendl-Izaga would prove to be an early indication of things to come. It developed into a lengthy battle of wills between a pair of players content to fire laser-like ground strokes from their respective baselines. Izaga was valiant, but Lendl met the challenge. It has been rare that his steely will is bested, and this would be no exception. It was just the first of many matches that went the distance. Lendl in 5. John McEnroe marched into Flushing Meadows incognito, but he had no intention of remaining unnoticed in this U.S. Open. While acknowledging that his 16th U.S. Open might be his last, Mac wanted to leave on a high note if this indeed was to be his swan song. In the first round, the 4-time champion met Michael Schoppers and easily brushed the Dutchman aside, in the process flashing the piercing volleys and deft touch that many of today's power players can only dream about. McEnroe in straight sets. The U.S. Open is the 4th and final Grand Slam event of the year, and for many, the most difficult 2 weeks to endure and win. Scant miles from Manhattan, the Open offers a potpourri of distractions that can sidetrack players. Even just getting to the National Tennis Center can be a supreme test. Things don't get much easier once on the premises. One of the biggest annoyances is noise, and it can arrive in a variety of forms.
Take seats, please. Players are waiting.
There are autograph hounds that swarm, or the occasional one that pops out of nowhere. Fans that trail you to your car, and the customary hecklers in the stands. There's the glut of press people, the rigors of nature, and plenty of excuses for losing your edge.
Europe is much better than the States. For me, because first food is here, food is not good. You eat those McDonald's cheeseburgers, hamburgers, you go to the hospital forever.
Some players like Jimmy Connors bask comfortably in the energetic conditions. Others need to adjust.